UFC 261 is taking place with 3 title fights in Florida now, in front of a capacity crowd of 15,000 fans expected. And one of the title fights that is now official for this event is Weili Zhang, or Zhang Weili, against Rose Namajunas. Fantastic strawweight matchup. Guys, what are we feeling about this matchup and its placement on this event?
Love it, man. This is kind of, we've just been, I have anyways, just dying to see Weili back in the octagon. It's been over a full year now since that epic bout with Joanna Jedrzejczyk, one of the best fights you'll ever see. And Weili's been out for really no reason, kind of been more of a negotiation, hold up with all of that kind of stuff going on, of course. Weili, Rose, and Carla Esparza all under the same management, so I'm sure that made things a lot trickier for Mr. Brian Butler at Sucker Punch and what have you, sorting out, making all of his fighters happy and, all that fun stuff, location, all of that. Just really happy that Weili is fighting again. I was just ready to have her fight anybody, but it's against Rose Namajunas, who is a fantastic matchup. Maybe not the most rightful contender, I will argue that, but hey, just willing to take anything at this point for either of them, because Rose has only fought once since 2019, which was that rematch against Andrade. She's only fought 2 people in her last 4 fights. Something fresh here. Looking forward to it. Should be very fun. Just happy that it's happening. Where should this fight be placed? This is the main event for me. This is the most exciting title fight that we're going to be getting out of the 3. Pretty by a decent margin. I don't want to say a big margin, because I think the flyweight title fight between Andrade and Shevchenko is going to be very interesting in its own right. But what is most likely to be fireworks out of all 3 of these? I think there's no debate that it is this fight.
Absolutely. Now, before we go any further, please like this video and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And one other point that is interesting about this fight is Weili Zhang, or Zhang Weili rather, has not experienced the pandemic, the crowdless events, because she was at the very last event to have a crowd, and she's not been in action since then. So she will be returning to a crowd, and it'll be like she's never lost a step. So, Ant, how much do you think that will play into her fight, and not having obviously the year off, but never experiencing the pandemic like most of the roster has?
I don't think it's going to make much of a difference for her, because it's going to be business as usual. It's just going to be a fight. If anything, I believe the training camp situation could play an effect on this, because we know that training camps, especially for overseas fighters, have been kind of all over the place. So I wonder what her training situation was like leading up to 248. I if I'm remembering correctly, there were some difficulties involved with that. Yeah, and she had to globetrot a little bit. And keep in mind, she's from China, which is the epicenter of the COVID-19 pandemic. So with China and much of the other world kind of getting a handle on things to a degree, I would assume that she has a better training situation. So that should bode well for her, but nothing to compare it against as far as the crowd is concerned. And as far as the placement on this card, this definitely should be the main event. You look at what is the main event, that's Kamaru Usman and Jorge Masvidal. It's a fight that we've seen already. Wasn't competitive, wasn't entertaining, unwarranted to see it again. Should not be the main event. Then you look at Shevchenko versus Andrade, and that is its own right, as Drake said. That's going to be a decent fight as well. But we've seen Shevchenko have some rather I don't dare I say pedestrian, because I don't want to downplay her skills at all, because she's by far one of the most skilled competitors in the UFC, male or female. But we've seen the entertainment level not be quite what we'd like. She could ice you like she did with Jessica I, or she can have a game of pity pat with Liz Carmouche. So you don't know what you're gonna get. We do know what Weili Zhang brings to the table in a title fight, judging from her last fight, and at the very least, her last fight was probably the greatest mixed martial arts female title fight ever. So yeah, just on that alone, yes, main event material. Rose Namajunas too, consistently in very entertaining fights. And a fan favorite as well. This just makes more sense as the main event to me, even if it is the smallest as far as the scale is concerned.
No, yeah, this is absolutely one of the most exciting fights of the year for my money. And it has the potential to be an early contender for fight of the year, depending on how it plays out. Hopefully everything on this card and this fight in particular stays together, as we are still dealing with COVID issues. Luckily, the UFC's past two events, the most recent pay-per-view and the most recent fight night, did not have any COVID issues. So hopefully that trend can continue. But as we, approach this event here in April, where they are inviting fans to fill up the arena, not just be in attendance, no, fill up the arena, all 15,000 seats. I am kind of concerned as to what kind of issues can arise from that, because, we've seen fights fall out just the day before, 2 days before, throughout this pandemic. So hopefully none of those issues arise here. One other concern I do have really quickly that I do want to touch on, as it concerns with this fight card and this announcement. We have 3 title fights on this card, and as we've seen, we will have 8 champions in action in a span of 2 months' time. Is that too much?
Yeah. I mean, in terms of course, laying things out for other cards, and it kind of circles back to what we were talking about in the three title fights on one card video. I believe that the reason that they're doing this partly is because of, just get everybody a fight as soon as you possibly can, because you don't know what could happen during these crazy times. Funny enough, they're going to do the full capacity show and still risk 3 champions, right? So kind of silly in that regard. But at the same time, I think it's a matter of they're not thinking so much long-term at the moment, especially with champions and piling them up. I mean, a 3 title, we weren't even sure we'd see another one this year, but we're getting it within like 2 months like this. That's pretty ridiculous. And we did not expect that whatsoever. So not thinking very long-term, I don't think, especially in terms of the divisions. And it'll be curious to see. I would imagine the UFC is going to try really hard to make some quick turnarounds happen. Like UFC 262, is that probably going to be Nunes Pena? Like, I don't know. That's just the first thing that comes to the top of my head, for who will be available after everybody fighting so frequently, as you just mentioned, Matt. Like, I don't know. I don't think it's a long-term investment. That's for sure.
And quick correction there. It's actually 9 considering the Stipe fight in between.
Right. So,
yeah, I'm really, having a hard time understanding what the mentality is behind having the just one fight every, few months. It's just stacked to the gills, and then afterward it's just this complete dearth of entertainment. So I'm really not sure what to make of this, but I definitely think that putting 3 title fights on this card is asking a bit much when you still don't have main events flushed out for announced pay-per-views like 262. So
100%. And this is a type of fight in particular that could absolutely headline a card. And I think that was the perception that I had with the UFC trying to push, the China sort of side of the globe, promotion wise over there, with Weili being the first one to be a champion from China. And here we have her buried now as the 3rd title fight on a 3-fight title card. It seems a little bit much for me, but I think this is absolutely going to be one of the best fights on the card. And I think unlike the previous 3 title fight card, I think one of these 3, at least this one in particular, should take home a bonus. So let us know what you think in the comments of this fight, in this matchup, how you guys think it will play out. We will have a more robust prediction video and how we think it'll play out here in the near future. So subscribe to the channel, give this video a thumbs up if you have not already. We would appreciate it. For Drake Riggs, Ant Walker, I'm Matthew Wells. Peace.